Hey everyone! So we are now streaming live here. So good to be with all of you, right? So we are streaming. I'm looking here. We're streaming to lots of different places. So wherever you're watching us, right, you can come here and say hello. Say hello to us on YouTube or on Facebook or whatever social media you're watching us right now. It's gonna be great. So today we're gonna have a great conversation. So this is the very first live about TDC future, right? So on TDC future, we will be discuss about the future of technology, right? So all kinds of different tracks, all kinds of different topics. But today we're gonna discuss the future of Java, right? So TDC future happens next week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week. You can join for free to the basic pass. We're gonna talk a little bit more about that. But this week, we're going to have 5 lives talking about the future. And today, we're going to have the very first live. So let me introduce our guest here today. So, the leader of the London Java community and a specialist on artificial intelligence. Let's bring here Mani Sarkar. Hey, Mani, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you, Bruno? Thanks for having me here. And you organize it in such a short notice. Thank you for doing that.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks for being here. And also with us, the leader of Java and works for Red Hat. The guy that's a specialist in containers and Kubernetes and Java, right? So let's bring here Elder Moraes. Hey, Elder, how you doing, man?
Hi, Bruno. Hi, Manny. Hi, everyone. Thank you
Hello,
for
Elder.
having me. Hello. How are you?
Good. So before we actually get started here, let me just quickly thank all of the people that are streaming this, right? So we're streaming this through the Java channel. So thank everyone from Java. If you're watching this on Java, thanks very much for everyone from Java. We're streaming this on the TDC, the Developers Conference channel. So if you're watching this on TDC, thanks everyone for TDC. We're also streaming this on Mani's YouTube channel. So thanks, Mani.
Thank you, Bruno.
On YouTube, on Mani's YouTube. We're also streaming to every place from Elder, right? So if you're watching this, you're from Elder's community. If you're watching this on his Twitter or YouTube or his Facebook, thanks a lot, Elder, from streaming this. We're also streaming this through Java Journey, right? So from Gabrielle. So thanks a lot, Gabrielle, for streaming there. Everywhere, right? We're trying to put this absolutely everywhere. And of course, if you're here from my community, thanks everyone from being watching us here, right? So if you have any questions about the future of Java, you can go and you can ask. We're going to be trying to monitor everything. It's kind of hard, right? But if at least you come to the YouTube channels, we can probably see your questions, right? So we want to be very, very interactive. So you can start asking questions anytime you want. If you can, say hello for us here so we can see that you're watching there, right? Okay, so let's kind of get started. So we're gonna discuss here the future of Java technology, right? And can I do this like a very open question for you guys, right? So how do you see the future of Java technology? Manny, you've been working on artificial intelligence a lot, and so a lot of people think that artificial intelligence is the future. So how about you start by telling us what's the future of Java in the artificial intelligence space? How about that?
Yeah, sure. So there's actually a lot of work being done using Java in the AI space, and it so happened that that the momentum stopped sometime like a few years ago, or maybe a bit more earlier than that. But it's been picked up again, where you have lots of different small pockets of communities, including the teams at Oracle that are putting their full force in building the technologies that are needed to improve the ecosystem, and also to bring a lot of the tooling and libraries and packages that are available in the other communities like Python and R and MATLAB into the Java community again. And so if some of you are following Tribio, which is the ML library in Java, and that's not the only library out there. I've actually written a blog post which I could share later on, which actually outlines a lot of the tooling that's already available in the Java space. And so if you say the future, as long as we are going to use Java as a programming language, as one of the programming languages, because today Java is not the only programming language, right? We have so many of them fighting. I mean, just the other day I read that Python's actually is nearly the number one, or some people say is the number one programming language. Um, and then you have number two and number three. You've probably got JavaScript and Java and some other programming languages. So Java being a tool is always going to be used at the different segments in the end-to-end pipeline of a software development process, and artificial intelligence becoming more and more a part of the different parts of the software development process is going to also benefit from the Java language and the Java tooling. And for those who don't follow the other developments in the Java world, is the Graal VM, which is built with the purpose um, of in making Java applications run even faster than what it already does. And not just that, the other aspect of Graal VM is language interrupt. That means previously we could only do certain things in one language and it was a difficulty communicating with another language. And that is now being bridged, or the developments are in place so that the gaps between two or more programming languages do not exist in the same level like they used to be. So you can now actually include packages and libraries from non-Java programming languages uh, in a programming language. For example, if you run Graal Python, you could call Java app or Java libraries and make Java ops from within Python whilst running on Graal VM. And so that means all the AI machine learning libraries and packages that have been written in other languages like R, Python, and you can name some other ones as well, they can now run on the JVM, and we don't see the difference. Of course, we'll be writing the programs and the solutions in that language, but we'll still be able to communicate with Java applications. But not just that, it's running on the JVM. That means the platform that powers all the Java applications are going to be running on one single platform. So you can have a Python application, you can have a Java application, you can have a JavaScript application, an R application, and they can all talk to each other, and they're all running on the JVM. And I see this, it's a slow development because adaptability is something that doesn't happen very quickly in the Java space, in the technology space, as you already know, Bruno. Elder will also agree with me on that one. But as and when this becomes more and more easier to do and becomes more seamless, you will not notice that actually an application that you're running is actually running on the JVM. Actually, it's emitting bytecode and it's running on the JVM. And because runtime performance is becoming more and more important, and also being available on the JVM, and every version of Java has some performance improvement, some versions more than others. This is going to play a big role for those who adapt and bring their applications onto the JVM, as opposed to keeping it on the other interpreted or semi-compiled programming languages. Because if you want to run applications faster, and AI demands a lot of compute, then you need to have a performant platform, and JVM is that performant platform. So that's where I see the future rolling. It's not very clear, not as much adaptability at the moment, but this is growing, and this is going to just continue further and further. So that's
awesome.
my insight on where things are going to go. And there are lots and lots of discussions here, right? It's not like black and white. Like I'm saying, it's going to go in this direction. It's going to go probably up and down and wavy, and then eventually the big target is still upwards, but the midterm target is a wavy target. So you'll see people adapting, not adapting, leaving, adapting, and then eventually you'll see when everything really blends into the JVM platform, or many things blend into the JVM platform, you'll see a big upshoot.
Right. That's all great. So you, Elder, you working a lot. Manny talking about the performance from Graal VM, and you working a lot of the Graal VM. You presented a lot and kind of actually promoted a lot of Graal VM. How do you see, and we're working the whole thing that Manny was talking about, this whole idea of having multiple languages, and you're doing the same thing with containers, right, on the enterprise and all of that. So how do you see all of those things playing a role on the enterprise? How do you see Java playing a role, a bigger role in containers and the enterprise and GraalVM and all of that?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I started talking about GraalVM and the polyglot programming stuff, uh, I always make it sure to tell people, hey, uh, this is not for you to mix different language in the same program. Although you can mix Java and JavaScript and Python in the same code using GraalVM, for example.
Mhm.
But the point is not to mix them, but that you do not have restrictions anymore.
Mhm.
So if you are a Python guy, if you are a Java guy, if you are a R guy or whatever, you can use all those technologies in the JVM, in the containers world, in the Kubernetes world, in the enterprise world. So the point is to give you more options, to not restrict you anymore to one kind of technology or language or whatever. And I see this the same movement that I can see by GraalVM stuff, but by giving you the polyglot programming options, but also in the containers world to give you any restrictions at all. So whatever you put inside a container, you can just run if it's running okay on containers, of course. Uh, and talking about the JVM and the Java perspective, we saw a lot of improvements starting on 2013 and 4 uh, until these days, because when we had the explosion of Docker on 2013, uh, okay, Java worked, but not that good, because we had some resource management issues that we need to use some hacks, some scripts to deal with. But starting on Java 11, we really get a big improvement for resource management using Java in containers. And now we can say easily that Java works pretty well. Is one of the best environments that we have for using with containers. And we also see the frameworks, the tooling doing their homework as well. So we see uh, uh, Quarkus, for example, we see Micronaut, we see Helidon, we see Microprofile, we see Spring Boot, all then make Java easier to work on a more distributed uh, environments and architecture. So I can see only good stuff ahead of us in these perspectives and contexts.
That's awesome. That's great. So I've got some more questions about the future of Java, but we have some questions here. I love, if you're watching this, please send your questions so we can start answering things here. But Nikita, he asks, does it really matter, right? The whole probably. I mean, I think he's talking about the future of Java itself, right? Does it really matter, right? Or knowing the CPU architecture ability to quickly pick up the language for the job is more important. So I think so he's talking more about these skills, right? So as a developer, you know, do you really think that we should be working on polyglots and multiple language applications, or as Nikita talks about here, we should just kind of pick up one language for the right job and have this ability to pick up languages fast. So what do you guys think? You gonna start, Elder?
Yeah. Well, I think that yes, it's good that you have options, for example, but from my perspective, I don't think that we can master a lot of different languages. Yes, I myself I can programming using different language, but I'm not as good as I'm in Java right now. So I can, for example, developer systems using Python. I can use PHP, but I'm not as good as I'm in Java. So if I have problems that I can solve using Java, I will prefer using Java for that. So
Mm-hmm.
I got his point and I agree, but in my case, I will avoid some context that I can't use Java for that, and I will focus on another projects and markets where I can perform well using Java. So
Okay.
that's my 2 cents.
So yeah, I think I'm going to agree with Elder on that one, and you will probably hear this answer from a whole lot of people in the Java world or any other programming language, that they are most comfortable and most productive with the language or set of languages that they know, that they've been doing for a long time. And so picking just one language and only doing that one language may work as sort of a disadvantage, because as I was, and I've said this in many of your sessions, Bruno, if you hear, we are moving into a heterogeneous environment. We are polyglot developers. We are no longer just Java developers. So one of these days, you might have to call yourself BR, not Java man, but polyglot man or something like that. I mean, you don't have to do that. I'm just joking. But you can see where things are going, because with Graal VM itself, we are blending in other programming language on the JVM platform, right? So if now we can run multiple programming languages on the same platform and we can interop between them, then developers of all walks of life are going to be able to work on the Java platform or the JVM platform, right? But not just that. Just knowing one language is not sufficient, because in any working environment, even if it's an open source project and a non-commercial project, we always work with multiple programming languages, right? I haven't so far seen something that is only vanilla Java and nothing else, right? Or only vanilla C, C++ and nothing else. So knowing, specializing in one language and generalizing in other languages, there's this T shape, as they call it in learning. If you know, you broaden your horizons, but you also make sure you focus on one or two important aspects, and that's what I would suggest keeping in mind. So what Nikita says is valid, but it's not going to probably work for everyone. It's going to work for a subset of people, and they might be a smaller in number. What Elder is saying is going to work for a broader set of number of people in the developer community or in the Java developer community. And so as we go lower in the pyramid, or the triangle, if you may say, then we need to get more and more general, as opposed to when we're going on the top of the triangle, where we can get more specific. But you can see the shape gets smaller and narrow. That means your scope and your opportunities that you will get as you go higher in the triangle, it'll be lower than as you go lower in the triangle. So depending on where you are, you want to make this decision. So myself and Elder, we are probably in the middle to lower half of the triangle, whereas other people might be slightly on the top end of this triangle, where they only write C++ in assembly, for example, or they only do a programming language, or maybe two, and that's it. And they don't work in an environment, it's probably very rare probably these days, where there aren't multiple platforms and technologies used. So that's going to be my view on this.
Okay, yeah. So Nikita trying to correct me, not any language, but the right language for the job. I thought that's what I said, Nikita. But sorry if I misspoke. But okay, so I just can say hello to Max. Max saying hello, everyone. Ismael is from the northeast of Brazil, right? So São Luís. He's saying he's here. So awesome. That's great, right? So just before, I've got an interesting question here now, because we just had an election from the Java community process, right? And so I think that has everything to do with the future of Java. But before I do that, let me just kind of quickly invite everyone here to to come and join TDC, right? So we're going to be discussing the future today. Actually, there's some questions here about skills, right, that Nikita asked. We're actually going to have a deeper discussion on skills later this week, right? So we're going to have 5 lives this week. It's going to be, today is the first one. Then we're going to be every single day at this time, right? So it's going to be exact this time, all days, every single day this week. We're going to have this live discussing with different people about different kind of future, the future of work, the future of developer skills, the future of technology in general, right? So the future of Java today. So we're going to have more discussions about this week, and we're going to invite you to join the Developers Conference. And the Developers Conference is the Developers Conference future, right? And we actually going to do, we have 8 tracks fully in English, right? 8 tracks fully in English. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but let me just kind of put the link here. So if anyone want to go and join the Developers Conference, you can go to that. That's the page I'm showing you here, and you can see on the purple there, TDC Future is going to be 30th of November, 1 and 2 December. That's next week, right? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, right? Okay, so let me get back here in terms of talking about the future of Java, right? So we just had a new election for the Java community process, right? And there's a lot of companies involved, not only at the JCP but also at OpenJDK, right? I know Manny, you have been working with OpenJDK. Elder has been helping us at SoJava around the JCP, right? And so, actually, we had a crazy news, right, that happened like a couple of weeks ago, that Microsoft finally, after so many years, Microsoft finally joined the JCP. So how do you guys see, the future of Java with so many companies participating? Amazon was elected, right? It's a new player, right? So, I mean, they've been part of the JCP for a while, but they were elected for the Java community process this past week. The London Java community is already on the JCP. Red Hat's already on the JCP. So how do you see the future of Java with all those companies participating and getting involved in all those projects?
Manny, go ahead.
Sure. So, I mean, as you know, Java has been an open source programming language, like many other programming languages, and has always, in fact, Java's community efforts is second to none. I can't think of another programming language where all of this effort has been made to bring the community together, and the community is huge, and so. And it's constantly developing. You would think that when new programming languages come in, Java would fade away, and you'll have another programming language take off. And then that also would mean the community would shrink. But actually, it's the opposite. And the more people who are part of the Java community are joining other companies, they are encouraging their staff, their management, their colleagues to also become part of this development process. JCP or the OpenJDK community, or everything else that represents the Java community. And so I only see this growing and going forward, and all these advantages, right? When you have all the leaders, the tech leaders, and the companies you just mentioned, they're among the tech leaders of the industry. And if the tech leaders are participating in the development of Java because they themselves use it in-house in their business, with their clients, developing applications with it, developing applications on it. And so when something like that happens, I can only see growth. So as I was mentioning earlier, a couple of segments ago, where we're going to see a wavy pattern before we actually see the upshoot. But the wavy pattern is this, right? Suddenly you have a small drop in the community activity, but then it'll shoot up again when you have companies like this join the Java community in various forms. And then that, when more of those happen, there is the long-term trend is an uptrend, isn't it? So that's going to be my theme on and response to that question. And I hope
that's
that
great. So
answers.
Yes, that's great. So Elder, actually, you're part of the board of the SoJava, right? And SoJava has just joined some new communities, right? Kind of getting from what Manny is just talking about. So SoJava has just joined the CNCF, right? The Cloud Native Foundation. SoJava has just joined the Linux Foundation, right? And also the Jakarta EE work group in Eclipse Foundation. So so Java is expanding in all these areas. Does that mean that Java is expanding in all these areas too? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, sure. Because I always make a joke that people say, "Well, Java is dying," all those stuff. But if you look at the amount of investment that is coming to Java throughout all those 26 years, most of big companies, the biggest Java user groups in the world, like SoJava, like London Jug, and others. So that means a lot of people putting their times. It means a lot of companies putting their money, because investment in technology is not just about propose, but also about money. I can't see a lot of other technologies, but with 26 plus years, with this kind of investment and involvement and engagement from people. So, and I see, all those different companies and people and guy in community and involved in the same technology, I can see only good stuff, because you see a lot of different point of views, a lot of different needs being invested towards the evolution of Java. So yeah, for me it's amazing to see this kind of collaboration, and some collaboration wasn't expected a few years ago. So that's, for me, it's amazing.
Yeah. Plus, I couldn't say it any better than what Elda has just said in the last couple of minutes.
That's awesome. That's
Thank you,
awesome.
man.
So let me switch gears here, since we're talking about the future of Java, right? So I just participated on this great event last week, Ukraine, DevOps Ukraine, right? And the whole topic of the event was a discussion about sustainability, right, and kind of saving the planet and all of that. And by I'm not sure if that's by chance or it just happened that last week also there was an article. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, talking about the green language, right? So the title is "The C is the greenest programming language," right? And of course, C is like assembler, disguised assembler, right? Someone called that, But if you take a look here in terms of the energy consumption, Java is like from the real corporate languages, right? Java is up there, right? It's like it's one of the best languages in terms of green energy and energy usage, right? So how do you actually see the evolution of Java itself, right? Do you think that Java as a technology is evolving the right direction? Do you guys see that in the in general, right? So how do you see the future of Java itself?
So, firstly, Bruno, can you share this link on your Twitter and everywhere else? This article is really interesting.
Yes, I'll
And
do that.
secondly,
Yes.
to answer your question, and I don't know how correct I'm going to sound here, but Java evolved out of C, C++, and Smalltalk, right? So, and at that time, it was just a managed language which did better than C, C++, but the performance wasn't as great. But over the period of 26 years, it has been doing things, and I've read articles where they say a lot of Java applications actually run faster than C, C++ applications, and it's very discussable, and it makes sense why it would do that. But also, what C, C++ doesn't do is, maybe you can compile assembly in C, C++, right? You can assemble, but Java is doing more than that, right? With Graal VM, you have got compiler of compilers. You can compile any language, and actually now it's producing machine code. If you look further into Graal VM's development, you'll see that there's machine code generated, and that's the key reason behind the performance boost that we are having compared to the previous just bytecode JIT compilation. And so, if you have to say the green language, I think Java would climb up on the list and probably be neck to neck competition with C, C++. Give it a year or two, because that's where Java development is going towards, is getting closer to the CPU, getting closer to the hardware, getting closer to the machine, getting closer to the GPU. And if you look at all the developments that's happening, like for example, the groups are joining all the other groups where there is interest, right? There's, as you mentioned earlier, that some of the groups joined the Linux Foundation and CNCF, and so these are the gaps that Java did not focus on in the past. And this is, which also means that, I mean, of course, Java, every Java developer that I spoke about would talk about CPU and performance, but this has become even more serious business, given that our applications need resources and performance, and we can't afford to lose runtime performance. So to answer your question, that I would say that Java is actually a sophisticated C, C++, and other compilers all put together. And in time to come, it'll be compiler of compilers.
That's great. Is that what you've seen too, Elder, with Graal VM and all of that?
Yes, I was listening to many and thinking here that what amazes me is that Java is making easier for us developers to make complex stuff, to deal with complex stuff.
Mhm.
So the way that Java deals, for example, with pointers, I would never be able to do that. Well, I maybe be able, but it's much more easier to do with complex stuff. The way that Java deal with, for example, multiple language interoperability, now GraalVM make it much more easier. I was looking to the project Loom. Man, this is something amazing. The way that they are planning to deal with
Threads.
with threads, for example. Thank you, man. With threads, it's amazing because threads, it's a hell to deal with if you are doing manually. So it will make much more easy. Still making it with high performance, with
Yep.
well managed resources. So yeah, it's great to see this kind of involvement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I think
always remember that. With the thing you're saying, Elder, I always remember that phrase from the CTO of Square, that he said that Java is the easiest of the performance languages, right? So that's very good, because it does helps in terms of not only performance application, but also helps in terms of resource usage, and because of course if you can have good resource usage, but it's very hard for you to do, you're not going to do it, right? If you take a look, if you take a look at that graph I just showed you, and you take a, because many talk about Python, right? And so Python is like, in terms of resource usage, like very, very low on the list. So I think that for me, what I see happening with Java all the time is that Java brings in, as Manny was talking before, right? So it's Java might not be in the forefront of AI right now, but Java comes in the back, kind of applying this to real life and applying this to real projects, and bringing in the performance, the performance background, the tools background, and all that we need to actually apply all those new technologies into our real projects, right? And so I think that Java has a very, very big impact in being the technology that's going to be most widespread and really kind of changing things in the enterprise.
Yeah. So actually, Elder mentioned two very important things in the world of software development: pointers and threads. Okay.
Mhm.
And Java has made the management of both pointers and threads seamless and easy. And of course, he mentioned Project Loom, which is the next level development in threads. And I can't think of another programming language. I think there is probably Rust or Go that also is doing some similar development in that world. But Java seems to be among the only few programming languages that is focusing on making threads even more lightweight, which means what you said earlier, Bruno, about resource management. It's actually working in multiple levels. It's not just resource management of your runtime applications, but resource management of your team. It's making your team more productive and performant, right? You don't need to have the smart people from the top-notch Red Hat and Twitter to do performance management for you anymore, right? Because with every version of Java, there is tooling that's coming out with Java. Like, you have Mission Critical and JFR that has been released a few years ago. Now, that kind of competes with a lot of the state-of-the-art open source. Don't take my code directly, but that competes with a lot of the state-of-the-art performance management tooling, right? And some of the free and open source tooling are also not as good as JFR and Mission Critical is. So if we then look at what benefits and resources Java is already bringing us with every release, and we can already see that we don't need to really worry about knowing too much deep dive level about the CPU or the operating system, because it's already getting encapsulated into the language itself. The same programs that you wrote 10 years ago are going to run 10x now, or maybe 20x in the years to come.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. In the past, we developers would just kind of write code expecting the CPU to get faster, right? But more and more, Moore's law is kind of slowing down, right? People think, oh, but Moore's law didn't finish yet. But for the last 10 years, guys, the performance of a single thread on the CPU has not evolved much, right? So Moore's law continued to evolve, because now chips have multiple threads running in it. but the performance of a single thread into ships have not improved much,
Exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
so that's why we need multi-threaded applications, right? That's why we need cloud those days, right? If Moore's law had been just kind of working for threads, we probably just would need like a one big computer, but no one runs on one computer anymore, because we need multi-threaded applications to continue improving the performance. But that's what the Java VM has been doing, right? It's been improving the performance of your Java application, even if you don't do anything.
Exactly. It's taking away all the responsibilities and your performance goals on its own back. At the same time, Project Loom is adding more facilities for your threads and threaded applications, right? So
Awesome.
basically abstracting away many of those things that you would do and get benefits from using assembly and C++. Now you could just do writing plain Java without having to worry about pointer management and thread management and the whole works.
That's awesome. So I'm going to just say
And
hello to Ariane.
This is a big lacking in many other programming languages. I can't literally say every programming language has this lacking, but many other programming languages have this lacking.
Awesome. Let me just quickly say hello to Ariane. I see Ariane Isaac there on the chat, right? And she's going to be with us talking about the future of work and the future of testing on Friday, right? So if you wanna see the future of work, the future of testing, come discuss with Ariane on Friday. That's awesome. All right, so let me kind of I just want to do a little bit of work here. Elder, you just released one more book. Like what was that? Like last week? Or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Like you released a book in English, right? So do you wanna quickly mention that, because I think it has everything to do with our discussion, because it's not about the future of Java itself, but it's the future of programming, the future of developers, right?
Yeah. Well,
can you also share us a link of the book? That'll be great.
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt.
Sure. No, that's fine. Let me get here. What I'm copying. Well, a few months ago, I wrote a book called Well, I'll say it in English, but it's easier. 5 Steps to an Extraordinary Career as a Software Developer. It's basically on my mentoring program that I'm running here in Brazil with some mentees. I just put on the chat, Bruno.
Okay.
And I grabbed all those content, those meetings, all those content that we created inside the mentoring, and created a book in Portuguese that hundreds of people really enjoyed the book. And I decided to, because this is my 6th book that I wrote since ever, and I always wrote my books first in English, then some books I translated to Portuguese. This time I switched it back, so I created first in Portuguese, and I got feedback from people and decided to write it in English. So yeah, I'm pretty happy, because I always share it with Bruno. I always had a dream to write books. So it's I started to get it to work since 2017, and now this is the 6th one. So yeah, thank you for letting me share a little bit about it.
No problem. So guys, we're getting here to the last 5 minutes of our conversation here today. So so if you have any questions, right, that's the right time for you to ask. So just to give everyone a minute to ask questions, let me just kind of quickly show you how you can join the JCP. I mean, not the JCP, so the TDC, the Developers Conference. So remember, the Developers Conference is going to be next week, right? And you can enjoy a lot of content for free, right? So let me just kind of quickly walk you through the process, right? So if you go to ddevconf.com, actually let me change this. Let me just kind of put the URL here so you can see the URL, right? That ddevconf.com, right? You're going to see here TDC Future. The purple is the only one that's still available, right? So you can click here. It's going to take you to the information of TDC Future, right? And if you go here, you're going to see all the content that's going to be available, right? So you can see here all the English tracks, right? So the Connect Pass here, all the English tracks, right? They can see here. There's going to be a lot of great content. there's more content in Portuguese than in English. I have to admit that, because this is the second time we're doing an international version of TDC, right? So we're already increasing the number of tracks. And then if you scroll down a little bit here, you're gonna see here the orange button here, Rationale International, right? So you can just click here, Rationale International, and then on this page, right, you can choose if you want to do the basic pass, right? And that's totally free, right? It has a lot of content for the basic pass. You can choose the premium pass, where you can register for a specific track, right? So you can, for example, you can register for the AI track, the artificial intelligence track that Manny is organizing, right? So you can see that, or you can do the Connect Pass that gives you access to all the international tracks, right? So then you just scroll here. There's a get your ticket page, and you can choose what you want. So very, very easy. Those are the tracks in English, and I would invite you to participate, right? So you can see Java, Agile, Career, Testing, Artificial Intelligence, Cloud and DevOps, APIs and Microservices, and then you have Career and the Stadium. The Stadium track is like one talk from each one of those tracks. So I really do invite you to come with us next week for TDC. Is going to be totally awesome, right? So guys, before we, because I know you guys have to leave, right? But before you have to leave, do you wanna kind of have like last comments that you want to make about the future of Java, or maybe something that you want to talk about next week on TDC, whatever you want?
So Bruno, if there are questions that we haven't been able to answer, if you can collect them for us and then email it to us, I'll be more than happy to answer them offline, and then you can share it, through Twitter or through some other channels. You have various ways to do that.
I think we answered all the questions that I saw, but I'm gonna see if there's other questions, other social networks, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, sure. Just a suggestion, because there's always chance of missing out questions on another channel that you're probably not looking at.
Right. Okay, but do you want to say some last comments here about the future of Java before you have to leave?
Sure. I mean, I recommend that just continue working and developing your skills, and don't just stick to one programming language like we were talking earlier. Look at all the other programming languages as well. Look at GraalVM, because a lot of developers are still not looking at it. Look at Quarkus. I didn't talk about Quarkus earlier, as I'm not focusing so much on it, but Quarkus also brings the same goodness of performance and ease, and widens your platform. And so pay attention to all of these, play around with them a little bit, and try to see how you can adapt your applications by reusing and using these components into your applications. And that's the only way to stay on the forefront. So as I said, it's a wavy movement. Stick with the wave, and you will see yourself go up in the uptrend.
That's awesome. How about you, Elder? Do you want to say some last words? And I'm going to put the link for your book again here.
Yeah, software is made by people and for people. So as long as we keep this in mind when we are working, when we are developing, when we are engaging with whatever technology it is, I think that we are always making our software better. So let's do that.
Okay, that's awesome. So, I don't see any more questions in the chat, right? So thanks everyone for participating here with us. And it was totally awesome to have you guys here and having the discussion. I'm just going to put the link for TDC once more time here. So if Elder and Manny will be speaking at TDC next week. And they're going to be going deeper on those topics and discussions, right? So, I welcome, I invite you, all of you, to come and participate. Remember, the basic pass for TDC is completely free. And this is the very first TDC Future Live. We're going to have one of those lives every day of this week at this time. Noon Brazil, 7 a.m. Pacific time. I think it's like 10 a.m. Eastern time. 3 p.m. London time, right? So we're going to be here with you all week long. So thanks very much. Thanks very much, Elder. Thanks very much, Manny.
Thank you, Bruno.
Thanks a lot. Thanks,
everyone. Take care. Ciao.
All right. Bye.